TFM Live podcast, brought to you by the FullMountMMA.com. And now here are your hosts, Brian Coyle and Sean Stanley.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to TFM Live, the official podcast of the FullMountMMA.com. I am Brian Coyle, joined alongside Sean Stanley. Sean, how are you doing on this fine Tuesday night that we're recording?
Well, the only problem with it right now is there's a monsoon outside here in Miami. So other than that, it's going fantastic.
See, it's 70 and nice in New Jersey, and it was like 50 degrees 2 days ago. And, you know, the allergy season is punching me square in the face. So I apologize if anyone hears me sneeze on this podcast. But other than that, it's doing pretty good. Now, one person who's not doing pretty good still, that would be Nick Diaz. He's still suspended by that archaic ruling by the Nevada Athletic Commission. And we've seen a lot of people stand up for him. Henry Cejudo saying he's not going to fight in Nevada. Conor McGregor calling it BS. All this kind of stuff. But sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And a certain name came out today in support of Nick Diaz, strangely enough. That would be Georges St-Pierre. And if that sounds weird, it is. Remember, St-Pierre and Diaz had a very interesting background, former rivals, and all this kinds of stuff. And GSP is one of the loudest advocates for, you know, really tough drug testing. It's one of the reasons why he, quote unquote, left the sport for the extended amount of time that he has. But according to Canadian outlet RDS, this is from MMAfighting.com. I always want to give them credit. They're a fantastic website as well. He said, personally, I think 5 years is too much, in referring to the 5-year suspension the Nevada Athletic Commission dropped on Diaz last month, especially when you think about Anderson Silva and other guys who were doping and received a lighter suspension compared to Diaz. I think they wanted to make an example out of him to send a message because he's a colorful character who talks a lot and makes a lot of noise. They wanted to make an example out of him like they did in the Olympics with Marion Jones, for example. Unfortunately, it fell on him, but I think everyone is entitled to a second chance. Now, this is weird because it's GSP. And this guy, I mean, St-Pierre has come out for stronger drug testing, like, period. Like, he wanted the crazy Olympic drug testing, and we finally got it with the new drug testing standards. And GSP supporting Nick Diaz? What? Like, this is how absurd this story has gotten up to a point. Because, like, we like to remind people, 3 tests were taken, 2 by the World Anti-Doping Agency protocol accredited laboratories in Salt Lake City, Utah, and there was good old Quest Diagnostics in New Jersey, in the Northeast, either New Jersey or New York. And I mean, don't blame New Jersey. You can blame New Jersey for a lot of things, this including one of them. So this is like I feel like we're in the bizarro world right now. Like, what is going on?
Well, I think one of the things is that I think it has to do with the type of drug that it is here. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're not talking about necessarily a performance-enhancing drug, you know. So I think, you know, I have a quote here I was looking at. I'm trying to see. I pulled it off of...
Yeah, I think the one you're talking about is marijuana is a drug, but I think there should be different penalties for certain products competitors use because this makes no sense.
Yeah.
Marijuana could help someone that suffers from anxiety, but it won't make you stronger and more powerful. Yeah. I don't think you're judged upon so severely. That's what St-Pierre said.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. That's right. That's where I was heading up there on that. So I just think that, yes, I think he's still that proponent of, hey, there's got to be stricter, you know, drug testing and tougher drug testing, but there also needs to be a look at what we're getting suspended and what consequences are for what drugs, because as you said, I mean, Anderson Silva doping and things like that got less of a sentence, and I understand this is, you know, Diaz multiple times, but still, you're not talking about somebody that did a performance enhancing drug. You're talking about marijuana here, not something that helped him stay at a competitive level.
Yes, and when it comes to steroids and drug testing, it's been always a kangaroo court regarding each sport, regarding the way each sport handles things, the 3-strike policies, the way all this stuff works. And like in the NFL, like when you test positive for marijuana, it doesn't come out. You enter the drug program, and then the way things go from there. The way I look at it, we had another story in another sport come out recently. I think you may have heard about this story, living in South Florida. The Florida Gators quarterback, Will Greer, tested positive for steroids. He was suspended a calendar year by the NCAA. This was his first offense and all that noise. Antonio Gates, who just caught 2 touchdowns last night on Monday Night Football against the Steelers, was suspended for 4 games. He clearly used this to keep himself younger and fitter and better, and Gates was on the field within 4 games. And now you have the UFC, when it comes to steroids, cracking down, it's a year. But when it comes to something as harmless as marijuana, they just go wherever they want, and it doesn't make any sense. Like Von Miller in the NFL got suspended a couple games for marijuana. Sheldon Richardson, 4 games for it. Like it makes no sense. There's no book to follow. And like the Nevada State Athletic Commission is just running with it the way that they please. And there's got to be some sort of like system that has to be put in place that says, this is the way it is. Sorry, we can change it on a case-by-case basis, but these are the guidelines you must follow. Like this is the maximum. And we won't get something like that because the UFC, for all it's great as a promotional standpoint, it's still at the mercy of these state athletic commissions. And you'll never get the proper stuff that you want.
Yeah, no. Somebody's got to bargain something, though. They got to sit down and say, okay, let's take a look at this and figure out something that's fair for the fighters, because you can't just all of a sudden fail. And I understand it's Nick Diaz, and whatever you want to say, he's colorful personality, whatever. He's arrogant, but you could obviously see they're trying to make an example out of him right here. And however you want to look at that needs to be looked at by the UFC, because are they going to start doing this to every fighter, or who are they going to have to fight soon?
Yeah, they can't just pick and choose what they want to be. Now, we talked about this either on the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago. The petition to the White House for President Barack Obama to lift the ban on Nick Diaz. I think at the time it only had 40,000 signatures. It's got 92,439 signatures as of 10:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on October 13th. So when you look at this and when you hear this, it may change. But he needs 7,561 more signatures to reach the goal of 100,000, where it dignifies a response from the White House. And I don't know if it's going to get there. I hope it does. It's got to take a couple more days.
How many more days does it have to go?
It's got till October 16th that they reached their goal.
Well, I know yesterday I saw a story. It was at 22,000. So they got obviously between some 14,000 signatures in the last day. So
yeah,
that might be possible.
Hopefully, it would be very interesting for the White House to have to dignify this with a response. So, the petition thing has worked from making Yogi Berra get the highest civilian award possible, which was really cool, to them dignifying a response about creating a Death Star in honor of Star Wars Week. So, the petitions from the White House, it's a fun thing. But this is very interesting. I doubt they would even touch anything like this because they don't want to deal with state individual stuff. But it just goes to prove how silly this thing is. 92,000 people have sent a petition to the White House. We're in debt as a country, and we want to focus on Nick Diaz lifting the ban on him for UFC fighting. This is what the people want. So listen to them. You're just taking away a fighter from the sport that you want to make money off of, and the guy didn't do anything bad. There are guys that have done so much worse. Jason Mayhem Miller, that dude is still getting fights after all this stuff. If you watch the HBO Real Sports documentary and the fighters with domestic violence, Nick Diaz is just puffing on stuff, and he got suspended for 5 years. Like, there needs to be a system here.
Yeah, there's got to be something. I mean,
it's absolutely ludicrous. It really is.
It shows you how crazy it is.
Yeah, regardless of your opinion on drugs and legalization of all that stuff, it's just ridiculous at this point.
Visit our website, thefullmountmma.com, for the latest UFC news and rumors. And follow us on Twitter @thefullmount.
Welcome back, everybody. TFM Live, the official podcast of thefullmountmma.com. Brian Coyle, Sean Stanley here, and we're talking about Georges St-Pierre and his comments on Nick Diaz, but he also made some more comments to that same news outlet, RDS, from Montreal. And he said, this was translated from MMAfighting.com, "I'm starting to get the feeling more and more to come back. I watch the fights to see what's going on in my division, and I am staying in shape. It's like a knife that I have to keep sharp just in case I ever decide to jump back in the mix. It's not for sure that it won't happen in 2015, but I'm not sure yet. I'm training very hard. As you can see, I have some bumps and bruises. I didn't get these falling downstairs." Well, it's good that Georges St-Pierre can still walk downstairs like a normal human being after the potential, the pain and the suffering he's been through putting his body on the line in the UFC.
Yeah.
But GSP, come back. Do you care if it happens? And is it this BS and he's going to go do another remake of a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, or do you think there's some substance to this?
I mean, I would hope that there's some substance. I would like to see him fight one more time, but at the same time, what Georges St-Pierre are we going to get? I mean, I want to, don't want to go out as, one of those guys that should have hung it up 2 fights ago.
Yes.
After the career he had. And, look, if he was a journeyman fighter the whole time, that's something else. But you're talking about a man that, exemplified UFC and carried it on his back for a little while. And you don't want to see something like that, tarnished, I guess I would say.
Yeah, the last time we saw GSP, November 2013, he defends the title against Johnny Hendricks at UFC 167. Last year, he suffers a torn ACL. He's been extremely vocal about the drug testing program. They put the Olympic drug testing into place. And like you mentioned, you never want to leave too late. You want to leave at your peak. You don't want to you don't want to stay too long. And I still think there's a market for GSP. I would love to see him in a fight against Rory McDonald. I feel it's very movie-like-esque to see the Canadian ambassador for the sport forever fight this young kid who was being built up like the next GSP. I would love to see it. I don't know if we'll get it, but if this is for real, I mean, he was out there on a Bellator on Bellator Dynamite training Francis Carmona. So GSP is still around the sport.
Yeah.
Is he going to be the same guy? No. I mean, he can't be. But if you get him one more fight and it's an interesting fight and he wants to continue to do this, I would watch it. I mean, we'll cover it. This is a guy that was a legend, and him coming back would work pretty good for a UFC 200 bout or something like that. I mean, it could be in the cards. I know Dana White has repeatedly said that this is not happening. He feels worse. He feels very strongly that GSP won't come back. That's the feeling he gets from him. But I think it'd be pretty cool. It's just there's so many fun matchups you can make. But is he willing to take the punishment? He came out pretty clean. Guys don't come out pretty clean out of this sport.
No, not at all. I mean,
yeah. So I don't know if that will be good or not. Or he can go back to doing movies. So we'll see how it goes.
I think he'll be involved one way or another, either training or an aspect. I just don't know that we're going to actually physically see him in another fight unless it's one of those, I don't want to use the word novelty acts where they kind of put him into a hand-fed opponent for, just to be like, hey, he's back and then he's going to be out. I don't know if he wants to go through all the training camp, all that beat up on his body, and then possibility, you get into a fight and your legacy's on the line every fight. I mean, somebody's looking to make a name off you every fight. They don't care that you haven't fought in forever. They just know that, hey, I beat Georges St-Pierre, and that's what everybody's going to be looking to do.
Oh, it's funny you bring up novelty acts because this segues perfectly into what I wanted to talk about next. Fedor Emelianenko. Novelty act? Or is this something we should pay attention to? Fedor, of course, the announcement on Bellator Dynamite that he would be returning to the fight game officially, but not with the UFC and not with Bellator. Instead, the former head of the Pride organization has created a new fight organization called, I believe, I haven't heard it said out loud, it's either the Risen or the Risen Fighting Federation, the RFF, the Japanese promotion. And he will fight on New Year's Eve, but he has no opponent yet, except for and that could be because of the response to his rumored opponent would be Jadeep Singh, who is basically a dude who did some kickboxing and had one MMA fight back in 2013, which he won for, whatever the hell that's worth. But, this whole thing screams, I need money. The whole thing, I want more money. Fedor has been gone for that long. The last time we saw him, he knocked out Pedro Rizzo. Mm-hmm. And Fedor hasn't been the same since losing Dan Anderson and Verdum and all those guys. And when we heard he was coming back, it's like, okay, do you want to be for real? Oh, he's going to fight some UFC guys. It's going to be great. They're going to be great matchups. But no, Fedor is doing this, and we don't know. He's 39 years old. And we don't know, and the fight's on tape delay. It's going to be on Spike. We don't know what else is on the card. It's very gimmicky. It's going to be a ring, not a cage. I think it's time to not care about Fedor. Am I wrong in this department?
Not at all. I mean, you remember we were talking about it, and he said, "Hey, I want to come back and I want to face the tough competition." And now, like I said, when you're talking about novelty acts, if this number that they're reportingly, but that's being disputed, is accurate, he's definitely just in it for the money.
Yes. And he was I don't want to discount Fedor. He's one of, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time. In his prime, fighting for Pride, it was absolutely ridiculous going against Crow Cop and all those guys. But this is it's not interesting. Like you said, $2.5 million according to Dave Meltzer. Mm-hmm. And Meltzer is usually right about a lot of things. Yeah.
Well, I heard mine from, it was on here on this from Gopalo MMA. I'm not sure who that, but they're saying reportedly $2.5 million to step on a can. That's what they're calling all the fights over there. People are cans compared to him.
Yeah, he's fighting a tomato can. Yep. This isn't even it's just, I don't care. We shouldn't even be talking about it, but it's Fedor and he's a legend, but nobody cares. And when this fails, because nobody cares except for the people who have to write about it, because on your New Year's Eve, are you watching the college football playoff, or are you watching a tape-delayed fight with an old dude that half of this generation of fight fans haven't seen? We're talking 10 years ago, Fedor was in his prime. Yeah. And people now, the people who love the Conor McGregors, the Ronda Rouseys, probably weren't watching UFC at that time. Probably weren't watching Pride. Probably weren't watching all this stuff. And sometimes it's too good to be true. Fedor, I guess, is an example of that. And there are people ripping him all over the place. Chael Sonnen, who will open his mouth for any occasion at all whatsoever. He ripped him on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, calling him overrated. He's not that highly rated. People who listen to that watch them over in Japan, would you care if he was fighting Kimbo Slice? No, I still wouldn't care about that. Would I care if he's fighting Josh Barnett? Would I care if he was fighting Crow Cop again? Crow Cop's in the UFC and still going for tough fights.
Yeah.
Like, would I care if he was fighting, Stipe Miocic or Ben Rothwell or Andrei Arlovski? Yeah, I would care. But if he's going to fight some dude who's got one freaking MMA record fight under his name and is a kickboxer, you're sticking him out there, oh, look, it's Fedor, or it's cool, he knocked him out, or he beat him, or he laid down. Like, come on. Let's get real here.
Not only to mention...
The heavyweight division... Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's the heavyweight division. It's so fun. And then you have this crap on the other side. It gets me frustrated.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only way I'm probably going to even tune into Spike TV because we already have the results.
Yeah, we already know. So nobody will care.
And the only way I'm going to honestly tune in is if the guy beats Fedor.
Oh, yeah, we want to.
Then I might watch that. But other than that, I expect Fedor to easily beat this guy. If it's going to be the Seep guy, if it's somebody else, you never know. They might find somebody else by then or whatever. But that's probably the only way that I'm going to tune in, and I'll just wait and keep timing it to where I just tune in for that fight. You're already going to have the whole card and know what happened on it.
Mm. Yeah, and there's no motivation for the casual MMA fan to tune into this at all.
Nope.
But I mentioned the heavyweight division. Got some news regarding the UFC Fight Night 76 co-main event, and if that's too long, it's the one where they're fighting in Ireland and it's sold out in a minute, and everyone's going nuts over the fact, even though there's no gigantic fight on the card.
Not one.
With Stipe Miocic, the guy who was angling for a title shot a couple months ago, hasn't really impressed at least me. I don't know about you to deserve a title shot, But again, we said that about Andrei Arlovski, and he ran out and laid an egg against Frank Mir. So Miocic has pulled out of the fight against Big Bad Ben Rothwell, who's one of the craziest dudes, but one of the most fun fighters to watch in the heavyweight division. He's pulled out of Fight Night Dublin due to an undisclosed injury. He's tweeted out, gutted, sorry to the fans, sorry to the UFC, sorry to Rothwell. I'll be back soon, but first I'd like to be able to put my socks on. So that really doesn't alleviate too much of what the injury could possibly be. Does he have a broken foot? Does his back hurt? I have no idea. Yeah. But, Miocic, this is a big spot for him. He wouldn't pull out for anything. It sucks. What are you going to do? But I'm interested to see if they can even find an opponent for Rothwell. We're 11 days away for this.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Miocic's manager said. He said, the injury that he suffered wasn't serious. It's just bad timing, just due to the fact that there's only 11 days. It's not like he can recover. They're saying he's probably going to be able to compete before the end of the year. But obviously he's not going to be ready in 11 days to step in the ring in this. This is ultimately could be a, title eliminator match for him.
This was a big deal.
Yeah, taking on number 7 Rothwell. It's, you got number 4 against number 7, and you definitely don't want to go in there, handicapped, to fight this fight with something that could be so big for your career.
That's true. And, it's a smart business move, but we get robbed of – I don't know where they're going to go, honestly.
I don't know who's going to be ready in 11 days.
Who's going to take it on 11 days? When you go down the list, Velasquez gets Verdum in March. Junior Dos Santos and Overeem get that awesome fight in December, which I'm really excited about.
Yes.
Arlovski and Mir just fought. Travis Brown, we haven't heard too much other than the fact that he's confirmed that he's in a relationship with Ronda Rousey, and that's all I'm going to say about that thing.
That's it. Hey, look at that. We covered it.
That's it. That sentence I just said covers the story. I don't care. Go have fun. Go do whatever you want to do. If you want to get into all the domestic violence allegations and all that kind of stuff, you can go read it somewhere. I'm not going to write about it because that's not what I'm going to write about. I'm going to cover the sport.
Congratulations. Let me just say congratulations, Ronda. Congratulations, Travis. All right, we're good.
Mark Hunt, he's fighting in Australia. Josh Barnett is probably going off to make a movie somewhere. He's went through a war with Roy Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot, he's fighting in Australia. So Matt Mitrione, wasn't he just announced for a UFC Boston fight in January?
I think I heard his name on the Boston one. I believe I heard his name added to the Boston.
Who is he fighting on the Boston one?
Let me see.
We should know this.
Look it up real quick.
But yeah, this is a whole. Yeah, he's fighting Travis Brown. That's why I brought it up. That's it. I fight. So there's not a lot of dudes. I mean, Stefan Struve fought at the Brazil one.
I mean, they're gonna have to get somebody that's not known, a lesser known opponent, I think, to step in.
Hey, Fedor, if you're ready, come on, fight in Dublin.
No, he's not gonna. Come on now, they're not gonna give him the money.
People will care. You gotta headline the card. Ugh.
Come on, man.
But like,
Rothwell's had 40 fights, not one.
I know. It's gonna be. I hope they find somebody to fight Rothwell because he's such a fun fighter to watch, and he's just a crazy dude, like legitimately crazy, but like fun. He's a fun guy to watch. And the lightweight match between Dustin Poirier and Joe Duffy is going to be great. Obviously, the fanfare around Duffy, the Irish connection. Conor McGregor is going to be there. They'll probably do something related to McGregor and Aldo.
Yeah.
But this sucks. And this is I read this is like getting up to like I think the 33rd, like either 33rd or 35th time. I think it's Mike. I think it was MMA Junkie had tweeted this out that in 2015 that there's been a change to a main event or a co-main event.
Yeah, and we discussed that on a past podcast about this. You know, if they were going to try to do the big Dallas AT&T Stadium card, this is one of the downfalls to doing something like that because you got fighters 11 days before the event getting injured. I mean, because they're training constantly, all the way up to the day, you know, maybe not all the way up to the day of the fight, but they're still doing their rolling around. And we've seen it happen where, you know, a fighter rolls the wrong way or he's looking to get out of a hold and, you know, any little thing that can happen and that will cause a fight not to happen. Here you go. 11 days. Miocic is out now. Now you're scrambling trying to find a contender for Rothwell. And the other problem for Rothwell is this. He's number 7. If you don't find anybody that really, I mean, if you don't find anybody between 6 and 1 that he could fight, he has a chance of possibly falling if he loses to an unknown guy. Now he's all the way out of it for a fight that he trained to fight Miocic.
Yeah, so it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Injuries suck. It's a part of the way the training is nowadays, and it happens. They happen a lot more than they used to. Number one, because there's a lot more on the line for these guys, and the training methods are different. They're fighting harder. They're trying to fight smarter. They're trying to do all this stuff. Like losing Aldo to the one of the biggest cards ever in July. Like that was a gutting loss for the UFC.
Yep.
Now, hopefully, they both make it, knock on wood, to December. And McGregor said he was fighting with something bad in his knee, too. So these guys go through hell in training. So, I mean, when people say, oh, it's BS, fight through it. No. Like, if you're injured, you're injured.
Yep.
But it just sucks, like, period, for injury-wise. What can you do?
Yeah, I mean, you go through a camp for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and now 11 days before the fight, you're out. That's...
Yeah. Sorry. All your hard work flushed down the drain.
Yep.
But hopefully, Miocic will be able to fight later on. If they want to cancel the fight, elevate something up, fight them on another card. I don't know if there's room in December, but if we can put him there, so be it. Go for it. Because it's a loaded December. When we
Can we make a card for that Monday when they got this Friday, Saturday, Sunday? We just throw a card for Monday on there.
Yeah, let's make another card. It's fine. We got enough fights in December. It's good. It's the season of giving for the UFC.
There it is.
I'll tell you that.
Seasons of beatings.
No, go ahead.
No, I said it was a season of beatings.
Yes, it's seasons of beatings. It's like an old ECW promo.
There it is.
Oh boy. The fact that I was able to put that together shows what I've spent my life on so far.
It's all right.
21 years under.
It happens to the best of us.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, there's a couple more stories we want to hit on. News from Ronda Rousey's camp, and it's not good, about a certain someone who's very involved on that team. We've also got a great family feud going on between TJ Dillashaw and Uriah Faber. It's been ratcheted up a lot lately. Sean, you wrote a story on it. You could tell me all about it. Give the people what they want on that. And Daniel Cormier talking about retirement. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back on TFM Live, the official podcast of thefullmountmma.com.
Visit our website, thefullmountmma.com, for the latest UFC news and rumors, and follow us on Twitter at @thefullmount.
Welcome back, everybody. We're back from break. TheFullMountMMA.com, TFM Live, the official podcast of TheFullMountMMA.com. Talking about, we're moving on to Ronda Rousey here, and it's not a good story for Ronda Rousey, for what it's worth. Her mother came out and said, Rousey's mom is, very outspoken, and will tell you exactly what she thinks, which is a good thing. She said that her daughter's coach, Edmund Targaryen, is terrible and a bad person. A video came out of her saying, "I think Edmund is a terrible coach, and I will say it publicly. I think he's a terrible coach. I think he hit the lottery when Ronda walked in there. She was winning before she ever met him. She probably won 99% of the judo matches she ever fought in." Of course, I think this anger stems from the fact, if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, that he had Rousey and Targaryen on, and he would not train her at first. He did not want anything to do with her. And I think it was because she was a woman fighter. Now, of course, they're all nice. Rousey's striking has been the best it's ever been. They seem to have a good relationship. But this is a weird little story to come out of Rousey's camp, and there's never a lot of negatives to come out. What do you think about all this?
I'm looking at the whole story right now. I'm trying to read a little bit more of this, and I know that her mom was a former judo world champion and everything else there. She's saying, I guess she's throwing out warnings about the camp, saying that, it hasn't produced any fighters and fight top prospects out of the camp, and the veteran fighters that go there yet to make an impact after arriving. Rousey's the lone athlete who stands out. The
other one is Travis Brown.
Yeah. That's what she said, was that he's actually brought up in here. Travis Brown was once thought to be a potential title contender, but has faltered as of late. Marina Shafir has suffered big knockouts in each of her last two bouts. So, I think in her eyes, maybe he's keeping his camp open, resting on, her daughter. To her, I'm looking at this now. I haven't been able to play
Rousey's essentially the point you're trying to get at is Rousey's the cash cow for this.
Basically, yeah.
And it's not, and we're not insinuating anything.
Oh, by no means. I'm not saying that I have any inside information or anything. By all means, that's just the way I'm taking this story coming from her. The way she looks at it is, my daughter's being used as a cash cow to probably get prospects there and to keep the the people coming in, the fighters coming in.
The way I would tackle this story, if you're listening to this and you're reading all this stuff and you want to know more, watch the video that she says, and then go listen to Rousey and Targaryen on Joe Rogan's podcast. And you listen to both sides of it, and then Rousey doesn't seem to have a problem, at least on the surface, with her coach. So, Rousey and her mom have always been not at odds, but it's a family that yells together, essentially. So
I don't think Ronda's got a problem with it. I think the mom has more of an issue with it than I think Ronda has.
Yes. So we'll see how that develops. If it matters at all, if there's any change, if there's any rumblings of a change in coaching, I don't see that happening, but we'll see how it goes. It's a lot of never bad things ever come out of that camp. And this is the first thing they ever see.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. A bad camp could be an apt description for what Johnny Hendricks went through after his failed UFC 192 weight cut that deprived us of the awesome possible fight between him and Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
Hendricks had not an excuse because, I mean, the guy was in the hospital. He had kidney stones. His intestines were all screwed up. I felt awful for Hendricks. But what he said was his over-reliance on venison caused the UFC 192 failed weight cut. He said to Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, which is a fantastic show, recommend that. He said he was feeling really good a couple days before the fight. He was at 184 pounds, 13 pounds off the division's limit. And after his first weight cutting session, he realized he only dropped 2 pounds. And he said, quote, "That's when my body started to feel a little different. I tried to push through it, went and did another session trying to work out, and I was like, okay, something's definitely wrong. I didn't know what it was. Both my left and right side started to hurt, went to the hospital, found out my intestines were dried up, and I had a kidney stone on my right side. There's a point that I was sort of grateful I didn't continue because it took a week to get over what happened." Hendricks is a tough-ass dude, first of all. It's like, oh yeah, it kind of hurt, and then I went to the hospital, and it only took a week to get over, so it's not too bad. It's kidney stones and dried up intestines. That's not something to mess with, people. No, it's really bad. And he attributed it to a lot of stuff, but he said, what sucks more than anything is that you work so hard to showcase what you have, and all of a sudden the diet that you were on backfires, which sucks. But I've learned after we did this, we did a lot of research, and I was eating a lot of deer meat and high-protein animal protein, and that's the leading cause of kidney stones and your intestines failing. I had no idea because I usually eat a lot of fish and a lot of chicken. I wanted to eat more protein, a lot cleaner protein, so we focused on more on that and ended up backfiring. I think that if I would have eaten more chicken and salmon, I wouldn't have been in this situation. So there you go. Word to the wise. Let's stay away from deer meat on a consistent basis.
Yeah, it's something that happens every once in a while.
For all you hunting fanatics out there, don't keep eating deer because your intestines might shut down. Like, dude, this is like, who told him to do this?
Well, no, there was a story that his camp ended up phoning in like a nutritionist, and the nutritionist had never spoken. I mean, they've spoken with Hendricks, but they'd never seen him. They never.
Well,
really
he used to be on the Dolce diet.
Yeah,
and now he's not anymore. Yeah,
and they were messing with his diet without even like doing any testing on him or anything like that. I mean, I just think that's a setup for failure right there. You can't have somebody calling in a nutrition and a diet and. I mean, I don't cut weight. I mean, I used to have to maintain a weight when I was doing wrestling and things like that, but I never let myself get, to the point some of these guys get to where, I mean, they're a week out and they're still 13 pounds overweight. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, that's the money quote right there. I only dropped 2 pounds in my first weight cutting session. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, to be 13 pounds overweight. Actually, he said, hold on a minute. Let me read. He said he woke up the day before UFC 192 weigh-ins feeling really good at 184. So he's expecting to lose 13 pounds in that one day.
Oh, man, that would be awesome if I could just do that randomly healthy.
That's how bad these guys' bodies are, and that's why you see a lot of them with the weight cutting or at the end, they're I forgot who the fighter was, but who was the one fighter where he passed out in the back or whatever? He fainted in the back. And these guys are depriving their body of everything to make this weight, which I understand they can, bulk back up afterwards, but at the same time, you are playing with your body and your weight. And your body's not made to go up and down and lose 13 pounds in a day.
And this plays into the whole conversation of guys fighting at these lower weight divisions, which they shouldn't have because they're naturally better at certain weights. And it goes to show the IV bands, like this is happening now too, and some guys need the IV band to be able to soak up right after a fight or right after a weigh-in, Like Chris Weidman is a huge middleweight. Johnny Hendricks is a huge welterweight. Henry Barao, up until yesterday, literally, which you can see what I mean if you head over to thefullmountainmma.com, was a huge bantamweight. Like these guys, you're going to see a change in weight divisions, or maybe even added weight divisions, because the UFC may have to add in a weight division or two, because there was a couple of heavy jumps in these divisions. I'm not saying go in boxing and have something every 2 pounds.
Yeah.
But this is something that needs to be monitored, because somebody's going to get really hurt by one of these weight cuts, and it's extremely, extremely dangerous.
Yeah, because every weight cut, you can see he changes it up to try to get that, right down to that last second to get to his weight so he can stay full strength for his camps and everything. And I mean, one of these days, somebody's going to tiptoe that line just a little too far, and it's not going to end well.
Yeah. We're going to hit on two things before we get out of here. I'm going to give you the floor, Sean, because you just wrote about this. TJ Dillashaw and Uriah Faber. There's a beef. And this is now something that could turn into something that we'll see in the octagon. Can you explain a little bit more about this situation?
Yeah, I guess, as everybody knows, Dillashaw has left Team Alpha Male and has gone to what is it? I'm sorry.
Dwayne Bang Ludwig's.
Yeah, Dwayne Ludwig's new thing. It's called Elevation Fight Team. That's what it is.
Yeah, in Denver.
Yeah, in Denver. So, there's a lot of different stories going on, but basically my story was that on MMA Tonight, they kind of had Dillashaw on there, and he spoke, about whether, there's possibility of a fight between Dillashaw and Faber coming down the line. And he said he has no problem taking on Uriah Faber and actually thinks it could be an easy fight for him. And apparently in July, this has been something that has already been ran by both of these fighters, and they were okay with doing it in July. And, so then now fast forward a couple hours here, another story kind of comes out where, and we'll tie this all in because somehow this name comes up in everything. Conor McGregor is being blamed for some of the fallout here, because Dwayne Ludwig is coming out and saying that Faber has allowed McGregor to get into his head with this whole, Ultimate Fighter tapings and things like that about Dillashaw and just pushing him to the point to where now Faber has indefinitely banned Dillashaw from the gym at Team Alpha Male.
This you couldn't script this any better. It's literally a wrestling feud worked out in a couple months. Like in July, Dillashaw was like, "Yeah, I'd fight him if I had to. He's my friend. We're teammates." And now it's like, yeah, screw it. I'll fight him. Let's go. Like, what the heck is going on? What really went down between Dillashaw, Faber, Team Alpha Male, and Dwayne Ludwig to create such a divide between all of them? Dillashaw is going from, he's my teammate, he's my friend, to saying, and Faber going, he cannot step foot into this gym, the gym that he was all great with. If you watch the UFC countdown videos for UFC 189, who's in it training Chad Mendes? Uriah Faber and TJ Dillashaw. Yep. And I love how McGregor gets thrown into this. Number one, if I was another fighter, I wouldn't listen to a goddamn word Conor McGregor was saying, because McGregor is smart. He's getting into people's heads and he's causing chaos. It's great for the UFC. This is a great fight to book. But come on, guys. If you're going to let Conor McGregor get into your head, it's like they've never – it's really amazing. Yeah. And I just think this is something, like you said, really something to watch, because it could be awesome. Dillashaw gets past Dominic Cruz, or he loses. Either one. There's your built-in next fight with Faber and Dillashaw.
Yep. And then my question would be this, because, Ludwig is going over to, Team Elevation, and if Team Elevation, being Dillashaw, beats Uriah Faber, do some of the Team Alpha males head up to Ludwig?
Yeah. Is it a dominate? It's like, all right, I'll beat your guy for the guy. And then they realize watching the fight, whoa, Dillashaw's owning him. Or Faber is getting a little long in the tooth. Or Faber comes back and beats Dillashaw.
Yeah.
it's going to have major implications team-wise both ways. And another name that threw himself into the 135-pound ring, John Dodson's moving up.
Yeah.
So after failing its Mighty Mouse twice, and let's get real here, the flyweight division is being killed by the fact that Mighty Mouse is so damn good.
You can't beat Mighty Mouse.
Nobody can right now, and it sucks for that division. But Dodson moving up. Dodson's beating Dillashaw. So all of a sudden, bantamweight has gotten really interesting. And I'm very intrigued to see how that fight goes in January between Cruz and Dillashaw. Another guy who likes to get in people's heads. We talked about Conor McGregor. Well, at least he's a good talker. CM Punk, Phil Brooks. We haven't heard much from him for a while. Until today. Or until last week, excuse me.
Yeah.
But we're talking about it today because it's still so fresh in my mind. According to an ESPN report last week, Brett Okamoto, who's very good at covering this kind of thing, Punk injured his shoulder during training. He's missed several weeks. He was aiming for a fight, of course, early at the end of 2015. We all heard about this. He was on in July. He was talking about this. He trains at Rufus Sport Academy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, home of Anthony Pettis and Ben Askren. And ESPN talked to Duke Rufus, Punk's trainer, and he said he's not really close to being ready for a fight. He said he's about 50%. But that's being said, remember that my 100% is a very well prepared person. Now, first of all, his 100% is a very well prepared person. I never heard of more of an obvious statement in my entire life.
Is that John Madden?
Okay, we got it. He got it. Usually 100%, he should be ready to go. If he was 85%, he wouldn't be very well prepared. But now, 100%. Totally archaic number, just throwing that out there. No quantifiable way to say that. But he'll be we get it. So you're stalling. It's okay. People are worried about Punk never even fighting.
Yep.
Is that a thought that crossed your mind at all? I mean, I think he's going to fight. I think this is bad luck, and I think we'll see him before UFC 200. But what do you think about this whole situation?
Well, here's my thing, okay? He's going to be 37 years old, man. I mean, if it's going to happen, it needs to happen early next year to see how legit he's going to be. I mean, again, this is a guy that has no MMA experience.
Yes,
zero. You know, we're talking a guy that just is, you know, they're like, oh, we want him to be 100%, but he started at 0.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so whatever he's going to do, I mean, again, it's going to see how the UFC. Now my question is going to be this: with the UFC seeing how long it's taking to get him ready, do they try to throw him in there against a guy that, you know, is a big name? Maybe not as, you know, at top level to try to like, hey, if he can beat him, he's kind of on the quick ride to success, or
push him to the moon.
Yeah, because you can't really baby him too much. I mean, not that you could have before, but now you're pushing it back more and more. All right, he fights in March. Okay, say he fights in March, February, March. When would he fight again? Probably not till
June or July.
June, July, maybe even later.
He has to.
He's gonna be pushing almost 38 years old by the time he has his second or third fight.
I know, and it's a weird thing. I mean, it was a great listen on the Sports Illustrated Media podcast. Richard Deitch was talking to Paul Heyman, and Heyman, a good friend of Punk, and he said that he never met somebody with the drive and the locked-in mentality that Brooks has.
Yes.
Granted, Father Time is undefeated. We are very aware of this. With no experience, like you mentioned, he's only got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience, training with Henry Gracie. He's got the time for patience is over. He's got to go into a fight with a legitimate guy, not a ranked guy, but just a legitimate fighter.
Yeah, I think it's got to be somebody, some type of name that you know of. You can't send him against Joe Schmo. I mean, you got to have somebody that's a decent name that, you know, that he can try to go up against and get pushed to the moon.
That's the way it's got to be. And it's, again, people compare this to Brock Lesnar all the time just because they're wrestlers. They're not even close.
Not even
to
close.
Comparison.
No, he's a national champion wrestler. He's a legit wrestler. Brock Lesnar was, and plus, and I don't want to mean this to sound, you know, any derogatory toward the smaller weight classes, but in the heavyweight division, honestly, if you got a punch, you can probably win.
Yeah, it's it's not. Technique comes second.
Yeah, if you got technique, you're probably going to win a majority of your fights, or you're going to beat something. But all you need is one punch, and it can be over in a heavyweight fight a lot quicker, especially than other smaller weights. Especially
in the lower ranks of the heavyweight division, you could just throw anybody out there and grab it. Verdum is an interesting person to be the champion in that weight class, given the fact that he's so skilled on the ground.
Yeah,
but. This is not Brock Lesnar. This is not an NCAA wrestling champion. This is not a guy with an athletic background. Literally going back to high school or anything. There's no account of Punk being anything but a professional wrestler.
Well, no, that. And you also have to remember Brock Lesnar had to cut weight to make heavyweight, so he was larger than almost everybody he fought.
Exactly. And Punk is going to be in that weird situation. Is he going to be at welterweight? That's probably the situation that he's going to be at. But when you get guys like Woodley and Lawler, and Hendricks was fighting at that weight for so long. This is, if Punk's going for it and he proves everybody wrong, great. But this is leaning towards more of not a failure, but something, what could have been. Because regardless of what you think about professional wrestling, that beats up the body. All those bumps, there's a reason why Stone Cold Steve Austin can't wrestle again or with a broken neck. There's a reason why these guys like Adam Copeland, if they get thrown onto the ground the wrong way, could suffer a serious injury.
It's all about landing. These guys, it's all about landing when you're a pro wrestler. It's all about And
Punk's gonna get thrown around.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna have to adjust to whoever's gonna go after him. I doubt they put him with somebody with a ground background. They probably put him with somebody who's good stand up.
Yeah.
So, but he's gonna have to get used to it.
He's been putting himself. Can he take a punch to the face? If he gets nailed right in the jaw, is he going to go down? Nobody knows any of this. Nobody knows any of this yet. Because I guarantee I am, but I guarantee in training they're not letting them just get beat up and everything either. I'm not saying they're taking kid gloves with them, but at the same time, it's different when you're training and then when you get in there, you got somebody trying to knock your head off.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation that we'll have to see. And then the final thing I wanted to close on with before we get out of here, Daniel Cormier was talking. To the media recently, and he's aiming for UFC at Madison Square Garden in April 23rd, if that does happen, or UFC 200 for John Jones, because he put out an Instagram or a tweet today saying that he's going to take some time off. So we're not going to see him fight in February. We're not going to see him fight in March, and the only fight for DC right now, let's put it this way, is John Jones. It's not Rumble. It's not Ryan Bader. Bader's should fight Rumble to figure all that situation out. And also, when you think about it this way, if he can't beat Jones, and if John Jones wipes the floor with him, he's talked. He may decide to hang up his gloves. He said, if the wheels start to fall off and I lose, or I lose twice, I'll probably be done. My resume, my career speaks for itself. He doesn't want to keep collecting checks. He doesn't want to be a Fedor Emelianenko. This is the kind of thing, it's a realistic take from Cormier, and I find it very interesting, but I'm exactly on the train of thought that he is. John Jones at MSG or 200, and that's it. There's no reason why he should fight again until then.
No, I agree 100%. That's the fight everybody wants to see. Why take an opportunity for somebody else to possibly take a chance, to win the title when you got that fight right there? That's what everybody wants to see. That's the fight that should be next. And then why not on the bottom part of that card add Johnson and Bader for the winner faces the winner of that? There you got it set up.
Yeah. It works out pretty good. And we don't know what we're going to see from Alexander Gustafsson, whose best performances, unfortunately, have come in a loss, because that fight was very good.
Yeah.
Very strong. It was a very fun fight to watch. It was a hard-working fight. It was close, too. Gustafsson kind of just lost it at the end. But it's going to be very interesting if Cormier can finally stand up to the big bad Jones and get it done. I don't think that can happen, because I think John Jones is a man who is one of the best fighters of all time, as we've seen. But it will be fun. Hopefully it does happen in MSG, because if so, the FullMountMMA.com will be there, because I will be there. I will make this happen. Hopefully I don't run into James Dolan, because I've said not so nice things on Twitter about James Dolan from time to time. But
way to go, buddy. Way to go.
See, everyone says that in New York about James Dolan, so I'm not in the minority there. But all right, I think we pretty much hit everything. Sean, you got anything else you want to say to the people? Anything you want to promote? Anything?
Yeah,
like that?
no, just make sure you follow us at The Full Mount on Twitter and check out thefullmountmma.com and our YouTube channel for the podcast. And we want to thank everybody for listening and the continued support. And you can follow me at SS Sports Talk.
And you can follow me at BCoyle11. I want to thank Sean for really delivering. You really came out good energy on this podcast. I like it. We hit a lot of stuff. And
I hit the gym before. I was ready to go.
Yeah, see, that's what it was. See, and I'm just coming back from work, and I was eating food before this, so that goes to show
just
where
make
the
sure it wasn't
energy is
deer
coming
meat.
from in this podcast.
Make sure it wasn't deer meat. All right.
Yes, it was not deer meat.
All
it
right.
was not. I stick to a strict diet of chicken and fish and red meat, which is not good, but I'll still go for a nice steak.
Yeah, you got to have it every once in a while.
So thank you guys for listening. At SS Sports Talk, at The Full Mount, at BCoyle11, thefullmountmma.com. We'll have plenty of stuff coming up, especially this week. We'll be previewing the fights over in Dublin, which I cannot wait for. We're building up towards November with the Rousey fight, and obviously the massive December that the UFC has got planned. So stay tuned. Keep up with us. Try to do this every week. So thefullmountmma.com is where it's at. We'll have the full podcast up on SoundCloud and eventually YouTube as well. So thank you guys for listening. You can listen to TFM Live, the official podcast of thefullmountmma.com.
TFM Live Podcast is brought to you by thefullmountmma.com. Follow us on Twitter at The Full Mount. You can also follow Brian Coyle at BCoyle11 and Sean Stanley at SS Sports Talk.